Welcome to Wayward Writers. I'm senior literary agent and author Heather Cashman.
I'm author and writing coach Stephanie Bearce.
And I'm author and writing coach Nicki Jacobsmeyer.
Our mission is to nurture and enrich established writers throughout their publishing journeys.
We welcome all genres, age groups, and publishing paths through video podcasts, online webinars, in-person retreats, and more.
We're here to help you conquer your path.
Welcome to Wayward Writers. We're excited to have Sara Schonfeld with us today from HarperCollins. And this is going to be our publishing meet cute. We're finding the one with Sara Schonfeld. So, Nicki, will you tell us more about her?
Yes, I'd love to. Sara Schonfeld is a senior editor at HarperCollins working on teen and middle grade fiction. Her list includes Anne Leon, Ava Reed, Lila Lee, Maureen Johnson, Lisa Greenwald, and Ali Malenko. And we are super excited to do this, publishing dating thing, because how many times has publishing been contrasted and compared to dating, especially when finding an agent or an editor? So thanks for being here, Sara. We're excited to chat with you.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it, although everyone from Twitter knows that maybe I'm not the best to listen to dating advice from, so hopefully my publishing is better.
I love your Twitter account.
Yes.
I've watched it for ages and ages, and it just makes me laugh. So
Yeah,
You gotta laugh. It's good to laugh or we'll cry.
yes, absolutely.
So have you ever had a publishing meet cute yourself? And just one of those moments where you just knew that the manuscript was the one?
I love this question because I think it's so true for almost every book that I've edited. I really do think there are so many similarities between dating and publishing, but one of the ones that really jumps out is it really is the feeling of falling in love. And when I get on that first author call and I tell them I love your book, I really mean it. It is that same feeling of head over heels. And I think I can pinpoint specific lines in specific books where I looked at it and I said, I need this book. This has to be my book. And it's this feeling of absolute love. And I was thinking it's so hard to remember every single line in every single book, but there is one particular line that I always joke about in Night Owls by A.R. Vishney. There's a scene where they're discussing the girl is a vampire, the guy is not, and he has just found this out. And as they're walking down the New York City street, he accidentally steps on a rat and starts screaming. And the girl is baffled. She's like, why are you so much more upset about stepping on a rat than finding out that I'm a vampire? And he goes, because I stepped on a rat. And I knew at that moment that this was the sort of book that I needed. And it's so relatable. And now every time I'm walking down a street and see a rat, which is a lot because I live in Manhattan, I always think of that scene.
And now we will too.
That's so fun.
That's awesome. It's interesting that you say that because so many times we hear on panels or interviews that agents or editors, especially editors, are like, what are you looking for? And it's like, I don't know. I'll know when I see it. And I know as an author, sometimes that's infuriating because we don't know what that means. But when you look at it in terms of a dating relationship, yeah, there might be certain things, but sometimes something completely different just captures your heart and you want that. So
we all have a type and you can describe your tall brunette with glasses or your I'm thinking of Superman. I just saw Superman. But you can describe whatever your type is. And I think genres work much in the same way, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to like every guy who thinks he's Clark Kent.
That's great.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at submissions, you've got that big pile of possibilities in front of you. Those queries they're like dating apps. So what does turns you off instantly? What's the no-go? What makes you swipe right?
Yeah. Thinking of types, there are certainly things that I'll see in an agent pitch that are not for me. That doesn't mean they're not for anyone. I tend to be a pretty happy reader. So if a book's going to delve into some serious topics, I might start thinking, I don't know if this is for me. I always appreciate when authors include trigger warnings because then I can read it with the right mindset. And that doesn't mean it's an immediate no, but it often means I might try to think of someone else on my team who might be a better fit. And there are genres. Like I always say, second world fantasy isn't usually the best fit for me, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to read a little bit of it and see if it might be. You know, you don't want the one to get away and any rule is made broken. But In terms of first pages, there are a million different things. You can think about it like an ick that you might get on a date, and you can't anticipate all of those for every editor as a writer, but it's all so subjective. And when we send those rejections, we really do mean it.
So can you share an ick of yours?
Some icks? Oh,
Yeah.
Some icks.
Again, you're going to laugh because some of them are so subjective and so random. If I'm reading a rom-com, I really care about the adhesion, the thing that's keeping the love interests together. And if it's something that I don't believe, the whole story kind of falls apart for me. And that's so subjective about whether I believe it.
Sure.
Like, you can't anticipate that. I also find that we always look for a strong character goal, and there are some goals that just don't mesh with me. So I work primarily on teen and middle grade. And if the character just wants money, I often find that's less compelling of a goal. And a lot of people fall back on that, and I understand why. But I want something more. I want to understand, what does the scholarship actually mean? What does going to college actually mean? It's not just about the money, and we need to get deeper. So in those opening pages, I'm definitely reading to figure out the stakes, the goals, the characters, the world, the voice. And so many of those, there are certain things in voice that I don't like, and certain styles of voice that I know. I've read incredibly best-selling books where I just went, oof, like, this is not the voice for me. And it's like seeing your friend get married and walking down the aisle and you're like, that's not the guy for me, and that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes for me, it's even just words. There's one time I was reading and the main character was crying and she kept wiping her nose on her hand and wiping her nose. And I was just like, I can't read this book.
Yeah.
I can't
And
read
that's
it.
fair. You can think of every time that you've DNF'd a book and realize that editors are going to do the same because we're people.
Yeah.
We're not infallible. And there are going to be things that we're going to let go that are going to go on to be bestsellers and hugely successful in their own right.
Yeah. That's definitely true. So do you have biggest green flags in submissions?
Yeah. So I'm a big sucker for romance. So a rom-com, a romantic book, a romantic light fantasy, something in that space. And if in the opening pages, when the love interests meet and they have that immediate chemistry, that's such a thing that's going to keep me reading because there's so much tension crackling on the page. And I think in opening pages, it is a delicate balance of finding what's the right amount of tension for me as a reader, what's enough that I am interested to read on, but not too much that I feel confused. And I think it's a careful balance beam to walk. I also love humor in a book. So something that can be a little bit wry, a little bit silly, a little bit sarcastic, all depending on the genre and the age category. That's a huge plus for me. Looking at the books that I've edited, you can see that some of them incorporate humor in such a fun way. And I think there are certain authors where I describe it as like a sparkle. You read their prose and you immediately feel this kind of extra zest in your step as a reader. And I think that's definitely what I'm looking for when I'm reading, that kind of chemistry, that spark.
And just like you said, just like readers are the same way. We all have books that we read that are great and bestsellers, but after a few pages, it's just not for me. And you get to have that too. So what is your advice for authors that feel like they're constantly getting ghosted and maybe editors are just not feeling the connection, but they're not getting any feedback?
Yeah, ghosting is the worst, I think. Truly reprehensible in any context. And I really believe that communication is so important in dating and in editing. So I try to never ghost. I'm sure there's someone out there who's like, you ghosted me. And it's probably because I lost the email or lost the text message. And so I apologize to anyone I've ghosted. But yeah, I think, again, it's so subjective that you can't write for an editor. You can't write for an agent. You have to write for yourself and for a reader. And I think one of the hard things about publishing is that not every book is going to work in every moment. So I think if you're finding you're not getting traction, the first step might be to take a look at what you see working in the marketplace. So that might mean just walking into a local bookstore and seeing what's on the front table or scanning the bestseller list. Are there certain genres? Are there certain trends? Are there certain tropes that are working really well? And is perhaps your book somewhere outside of those? Is there a way that you can position your book that fits into what's working now? I always say in publishing, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's a good thing if your book is not completely brand new. And having that inspiration, having those comps is going to be really helpful when grabbing an editor's eye. But I do also think, unlike in dating, you can write the next thing and think about coming back to the manuscript later. So if you're writing something that's just unfortunately not working right now in the market, I really do recommend trying the next thing and seeing if you can feel inspired about a new project. And then you never know what's going to happen with the original one. I do think publishing is a long game. Your career is going to be long as a writer. And there's no shame in trying something new and always coming back. A book is always still there. The books will still be there.
I like that. Get back out there, just
Me
like
too.
in dating.
It's just like,
Get back out there and try again.
You need
although
your box.
I wish I could make myself a different genre of person. Oh man, like that type of girl is really succeeding. I should just turn myself into her, and would really work for people.
Doesn't.
And as an author, you shouldn't, don't go beyond what's true to you. It should still be very true to you. But
Like in
Yeah.
dating.
Yeah.
I think that makes total sense too. Yeah.
does.
So when you found that gem and it got the sparkle and everything, what's your approach to that first call with the author? How do you decide if the chemistry is actually there for you?
it's a funny question because I also write, and I actually just had my round of editor calls as an author, which was terrifying to be on the other side of the table.
Congratulations. That's
Yes,
wonderful.
yes. No, it was so scary. And I beforehand was hyping myself up. And I said to myself, there has never been a time where I rejected a book because of the author call. I think that's incredibly
Okay, that's
important
good
for
to
authors
know.
to remember.
Really
Your
good to
editor,
know.
there are certainly red flags. I think if someone was really late for the meeting and didn't give a reason or was really rude on the call, I think it's like a job interview where at this point, it's more of a formality to make sure that you are someone I could work with, not necessarily looking for something like this magical chemistry. I've fallen in love with the book. I don't need to fall in love with the author as much as I do adore my authors, and they are wonderful people. I'm mostly there for the book and the working relationships. On a call, I usually like to start off by asking what inspired a book. For me, that's going to be incredibly helpful for so many reasons. The first being that when I edit a book, my goal is always to get to the heart of the story and figure out how to make the book even more of what the author intended to write. So I always say that writing is a little bit like telepathy. You're trying to get an idea from your brain into someone else's. And my job as the editor is to help make sure that you can be as successful at that as possible. So figuring out from an author what inspired them, what they meant to write, how they view their own book is incredibly helpful because I can help them get more in that direction. It also lets me know that when I'm editing, I'm not touching the heart of the story. I don't want to do surgery on someone's book. I want to give them a haircut and maybe like a new
little
outfit,
makeover.
depending on it's a
Yes.
full makeover, but it's not that 90s makeover where you completely lose the identity. It still should feel true. We're not she's all thatting any books these days. And I hope not. So I love to get authors talking about what inspired them. The second reason I love this, though, is you just see people's eyes light up, and it's just such a wonderful moment to see someone speak about what they're passionate about. I think the same is true in dating. You should always be asking these kind of curiosity-founded questions that come from the heart and where you actually want to hear the answer. I think that's great dating advice as well. But when working with an author, I do want them to feel cared for and to realize that as an editor, my job is to shepherd their book. And so I want to know as much about their book and what they see their book as possible.
Yeah. I'm really glad I don't have to date anymore.
Just thinking that, Heather.
I know you're
all of a
giving me
sudden-
it's like, oh, those are
All of us
bad memories.
The pursuit of another publishing contract seems a lot easier than dating.
I think it is. I truly believe dating is much ruder.
Yeah.
In publishing, we always say it only takes one. That's what I've been
Right.
telling myself while I'm on sub. I only need one agent. I only need one editor. It only takes one. When you're dating, it's the reverse where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm looking for the one.
Yeah, good
It
point.
feels like so much more pressure. So
Yeah.
I believe
does.
publishing works. I'm not a matchmaker. Maybe a matchmaker would have the same thought that I have about publishing, but I do believe publishing works. Fingers crossed.
I'm the
I was
matchmaker.
going to say, Heather's the
Yeah,
agent
Heather's
and
the matchmaker.
That's
agent and
Matchmaker.
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 Yeah.
agents too. Yeah.
That seems really, that's a lot too. Okay, onward.
So do you believe in love at first edit, or is it more like a slow burn? I guess what I'm trying to get to is editing a longer process for you? Do you think it's a longer process for most editors, or do you think that it's for more drop-in titles? Do you know what I mean?
I think it varies. I'm acquiring books. Oh my gosh, we were just emailing about a book that's coming out in 2027. And I think talking about how many rounds of editing we can do. And then I think there are other projects where I think I can talk. Yeah, I think this has been announced. I recently acquired a book that's already published in the UK. So obviously I'm going to do less editing on that one. And that doesn't mean I love it any less. I think my process of selecting books is the same regardless of where the book is. And that comes into conversation later about what kind of edits can we pursue. Are we just Americanizing, or am I going in and doing that full makeover haircut scenario? I think I have a nice mix on my list of books that I'm looking at from outline stage all the way to books that I'm seeing that are completely finished. And I think that's part of the joy of the job, that every project is a little different. And my role is always the same, which is how can I help the author and help this book get to the readers who will love it?
Nice.
So Sarah, with that in mind, what would you say your editing style is, and how do you communicate that up front so everyone's on the same page?
Yeah, I think, like I said, the best type of editing comes from curiosity. So I think as an editor, I can have a gut reaction of, oh, this scene isn't landing for me, or, oh, this character doesn't quite make sense. And I find, even though I'm also a writer and I can always think of ideas of how I would address that, the best editing comes from asking a question. So holding up a mirror to the work and saying, I'm feeling this way in this scene. Is this how you intended me to feel? Often if it's confusion, I can assume that's not the intent. Sometimes that is the intent, and you want to work with the author to, again, be true to their vision. And I think asking questions of, what do you think of this interpretation? Are you liking the way this is landing? I always say editing is going to be most helpful where the author already has questions and already has concerns. So it's really glorified advice when you think about it. I can't tell an author how to quote unquote fix their book. I can suggest places where I was struggling as a reader, and where my experience, I've been in publishing for over a decade now, and where I've learned readers might get stuck, where tropes and expectations exist, but rules are made to be broken. So again, an author is welcome to do as they please. And I'm never going to acquire a book without broaching these subjects if I require a change. So if there's something where I read a submission and I said, okay, this really isn't working. For example, maybe the ending needs to be pumped up a bit. I'm always going to discuss that before we make any sort of offer, before those conversations come into play, to make sure an author is open to that. And again, that comes back to the idea of the heart of the story. And maybe they did want a really sad ending, and maybe I want a really happy ending, or vice versa. It's happened both ways. So I think making sure that I'm always coming from a place of curiosity, always remembering that while my intentions are pure, my ideas are not always going to be perfect. So I'll spitball with an author. I'll say, maybe you could do this, or maybe you need another character in this scene. Maybe you need to delete this chapter. But at the end of the day, I always say that editing is like a game of improv. I know the rule of improv is always yes and, but I think with editing, it's more of a no but. So the author will say, no, I don't want to delete this chapter, but you're saying that you were lagging a little bit. It felt slow to you. So let's make it move faster. Let's increase the stakes. Let's add a little bit more tension. And then maybe at the end of the day, that'll become my favorite chapter.
That's so good.
That's
such great advice.
All right, Sarah, let's talk breakups. Have you ever had to break up with a book or pass on something that you fell in love with?
Cancellations are incredibly rare in publishing. We always want to make sure that we're doing the best thing for a book and we're making the book the best possible. And very rarely a book has to get canceled. Usually this comes down to the author's preference in my experience. Really try not to. If it's a scheduling conflict or something serious in their lives that they need to deal with as a priority. And we understand that. But very rarely, I think that's happened once in my career. So fingers crossed, it doesn't happen much anymore. But I do think passing on a book or losing a book, the one that got away, agents always ask me, what's the one that got away? And you remember those when you're the low bidder in an auction, and the book that happened very recently, and it was incredibly frustrating. And you want to ask why, like, how much lower was I? Can I go back and get, what do you need to make it work with me? And I think it was the same week I was also supposed to go on this date with this guy. And he texted me 3 hours before the date. And he said, I didn't expect to send this text, but I met someone else last night. And we had been talking. So, and it was such silver medalist syndrome. So, of course, me being me, I Google this man because
of course
he had on his profile that he was an influencer. And I was like, okay, let's see who he is. And I found his social media and he had all these followers and he was a New York Times bestselling author. And I was, I missed it. I missed it by that much. And it wasn't meant to be. I hope he's very happy with his new partner. But the fact that he had to say, like, I met someone last night and implied he was still with this person. It was like, it was unexpected. We've decided to go. And I'm like, you know what? It's just like losing an auction. And for that author, I'm really happy for them. And I hope that I get to read the book and see what this other editor has done with it. But it is a little bit like seeing your ex on Instagram. And
Yeah, that's a perfect example. My goodness.
What a struggle.
it's heartbreaking, but this is an industry full of rejection. I think sometimes authors forget. Editors get rejected too. Agents get rejected too.
Yeah.
All part of the process. But I think rejection just means that you're in it, you're trying, and one day it'll be a yes. And in publishing, you only need one yes.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, what's your breakup ritual?
My breakup ritual. Oh, a human or for a book?
You could share both. It sounds like there's parallels happening in your life, but we can go books. If you want to share otherwise, that's up to you. But
I'm a big fan of going for a walk. I think that's a really great way to get through things. You know, sometimes you need a sad playlist and just to let yourself sit in your sadness for a little bit. Listen to those songs. I think I have one that has, it's like a lot of songs from Glee. It's a lot of those girl hits.
I'm like, Glee cry songs. I'm with you. Yeah.
Walk down the street and be sad. In New York, it's nice. No one stops you. You can fully be crying over an opportunity that's clean. No one bats an eyelash.
Yeah, you can't do that in the Midwest.
Someone would come and try and help you.
Yeah. It's.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the joys of New York. You don't know. Everyone on the streets of New York is probably in some way writing a book or working on a book. Or if my dating life is any indication, a favorite question of mine to ask on a first date, if you were going to write a book, what would it be about?
Oh,
very fun to ask.
Now go.
Fun.
Well, you need to write a dating book. I mean, I don't know what you're writing or on some with, but I'm telling you right now.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
No, I should not be giving advice on dating. No one should follow my path. Please don't follow my path.
You're going to find the one. Just wait.
Yep. It'll be worth it.
It happen any day.
Yes.
It can. You're least looking for it. That's what happened to me.
They always say, but I'm always looking. Maybe that's my problem.
We have talked, because it is so subjective, this industry. How do you handle having personal taste and balancing that with the market pressures? You are dating someone you adore, but your family, who is sales and marketing, isn't sold on the book.
We need a skit.
Oh, no, it's so true. So true. In reply, I will ask you another question, which is, would you ever marry someone that your parent hated? Let's say you go to introduce your partner to your mom and your mom is absolutely not. Would you ever marry?
I actually did it.
You did it. And sometimes that's the most beautiful thing. And I have friends who have loved that. I, however, am not strong like
I don't know if I could. It
was rough. I will be honest. It was very difficult. And I was in college at the time, and my mom was basically like, if you decide to marry him, I'm cutting you off.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
That's incredibly brave.
Like, I'm marrying him, so you can, if you're going to make me choose, I will.
Yeah.
And I made it clear, like, I didn't want her to make me choose. And it probably took at least 5 years for my family to wrap their minds around it.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult. But now my husband is like my mom's favorite person.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I also think it's different when you're younger. A lot of my friends who went through this were quite young. And I do get it. It's hard. It's a different relationship. But that's so brave of you to do that. And also, we always say, like, when you're in the business, everything in hindsight hopefully just becomes a story. So it's a beautiful love story.
Thank you.
But yeah, in terms of what I would do at work, oh man, it's hard because I think sales and marketing are there for a purpose. They also have a huge amount of expertise. And if
Yeah.
those teams are coming to me and saying, we can't be the best team for this book, there's a reason they're doing that. And then perhaps that also means I can't be the best editor for the book. No editor wants to buy a book and then see it not succeed as much as it could because of something like that.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky on the team that I'm on. Part of the process of acquiring the book is getting these reads and this feedback from these teams before we even make an offer. So I'm never making an offer without the sign off, without the enthusiasm and love from all these other teams as well. And that gives me such peace of mind. So I know the whole process, I'm supporting the author. I know my teams will be supporting the author, and we will be going to bat for this book as much as we possibly can.
Don't you think, though, again, it's imprints have brands and marketing teams have like focuses and brands that they focus on. And I think they have audiences that they build up for the imprint and for that brand.
Yeah.
I think that, again, it's one of those things that it's just not the right fit, but there is someone else who possibly could be the right fit. It's just not for that particular person or imprint or whatever.
Yeah.
So hope.
And you deserve somewhere. Every author deserves a home, a publishing home that really loves them and supports them. I'm
100%.
lucky I have worked in publishing at a few different houses. I've been lucky to end up on a team where I adore the books I'm working on. And when we hear feedback, oh, we're looking for this type of book, we're looking for that type of book, 99% of the time, I already want that book on my list. And I have that same feeling of, oh man, this is so exciting. Now I get to look for this even more. So when my tastes do differ, it is heartbreaking. But at the end of the day, I have to know it's not the best thing for the book. And it's very much it's not you, it's me kind of scenario. You know, you gotta do what's best for the relationship. And sometimes that is letting someone else find a truly loving home.
Well, and as you're a writer too, Sarah, when we get passes from editors or agent, it wasn't a right fit for them. So the hope is, just like any book, as we are readers too, this just isn't for me. It's not a bad book. It's just, I don't want to spend the time on it. So that gives, it's good for us to know that too. Our character deserves the best home for it too. So it's like that silver lining and glimmer of light that every path just means you're getting closer to his home in a way.
Exactly. And unlike dating, there are not quite as many fish in the sea. You truly are getting closer, and you hopefully are getting helpful data points about, okay, maybe this pitch isn't working. Maybe this genre isn't working. Maybe I need to look at my opening pages and make sure that they're grabbing a reader. Maybe I need to reconsider the ending. I always try to share feedback when I send my passes, because at the very least, I know it's going to be helpful for the agent. I know it's up to the agent about whether that's then in turn going to be helpful for the author. Not all feedback is, and some of it will just help an agent future submission. But I do hope that with every pass that I'm sending, I am helping not directly be a matchmaker, but in the background, inching people closer.
You absolutely are. I can guarantee that. I'm so grateful when editors give even just little tidbits of feedback. They can make so much difference. Yeah.
So what is one of your proudest author relationships? Something you championed and saw through to the happily ever after?
That's so hard. I think it's like asking a favorite child. It's also, it's hard because
I'm sorry. I take it back, Sarah.
Top of mind, I just recently had my first #1 New York Times bestseller, which was the first thing. It's the first time that I acquired, edited, and got a book out. I was the sole person editing this book, and I think I've been lucky enough to assist and to co-edit and to become the editor of other very successful New York Times bestselling books. But this was the first time where it was mine. I sound like a dragon. It was mine from the beginning.
What is it? Are you going to share?
It's A Theory of Dreaming by Ava Reid. It's the second in the duology after A Study in Drowning. And for fans, there will be a novella this fall in Archive.
Oh, fun.
So we're saying in-house, this is the year of reading, as in Ava Reid. And it's really been such a delight. This series was originally acquired by Steph Stein, who's an incredible editor and had such a great eye for finding the amazing potential in this book. And I was delighted to step in when Steph left the company, and it has been a pleasure to work with Ava ever since.
Oh, that's great.
Very fun.
So fun.
Yeah. In terms of other success stories, I have to make a quick plug for how much I love working with debut authors. There's so much. I have a submission in my inbox right now from a reader that I loved when I was a teen, looking back at maybe not a teen, maybe in my 20s and reading YA still.
Yeah.
But there is a delight to getting to be someone's first editor and work with them and shepherd them through the process. And I think I always say, if I'm doing my job right, I'm making people's dreams come true, which sometimes I mess up and we all make mistakes. But in a perfect day, I love when I get to share good news. I love getting to call authors and tell them, hey, your book's on the list, or get to email them and say, look at this wonderful review we just got in. And my job, I am so happy every day. I pinch myself. I feel so lucky to get to be an editor.
That's wonderful.
Okay, great. We're glad.
All right. We're going to do a lightning speed dating round.
Okay. I will try to be fast.
Quick answers.
I have to edit myself.
Hey, we all do, right? You're good.
All right. What's your worst first date, book or human?
Human? Oh man, this is hard. Worst first date, got so drunk he couldn't stand.
Ooh.
Worst
man.
for a book, didn't include a trigger warning, and I was eating, and
Ooh.
want that.
Oh,
That's terrible.
There were bones being removed. That was a wonderful read. I don't want to say it was bad. I did consider acquiring it. It was a wonderful read, but I just
Wow. Okay. Author archetype you secretly love.
I really like authors who are big readers.
Good.
love it. Publishing pet peeve you wish people would stop doing.
Ooh. I was just talking about this today. Please stop comparing yourself to other authors. While we love comps, there is no definition of success in publishing, and trying to give yourself a benchmark based on someone else. You are your own author. Treat success as your own thing.
Warm fuzzy there. Okay, type of book you're always drawn to, even when you try to resist.
Any sort of romance with tension and heat and flirting, especially if it's like a Superman type, I can't help.
Clark is just doing great today.
Yeah. Speaking drowning, Preston is such his little glasses.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have to
You
go
like
see it now.
glasses? I know, right?
I like glasses. All right. What's one thing authors do that makes you fall in love with them?
Yeah, I think communication is such a big one. It's a working relationship. I love when authors, if there's something that's wrong, email me, come to me, let me know. If it's awkward, tell your agent, have them call me. I want to be there to help, and please don't be sad by yourself. We're here for you.
Yeah. I second that.
If publishing is like dating, what's your advice to authors looking for the one?
In dating, you got to love yourself first. So love your manuscript.
So good.
Work on what you think the strengths are, and your book will find people who love it.
Yeah, I love that. What should writers remember when their book is passed over? Not because it wasn't lovable, but because it wasn't your match.
I think like in dating, if I'm a proof of this, you got to keep trying, keep writing, and write the next thing, because who knows what's going to resonate with who, when. Yeah, someone's going to love it. You love it. It will find people who love it one day.
I agree with that.
Okay, last but not least, where do you think publishing is headed? Are we in a season of speed dating, slow courtships, or arranged marriages?
We always have all three. I have been particularly excited to see things moving a little bit faster lately. I do think with the way the market is, this is a long answer, with the market shaping up the way it is, I think publishers get excited the same way readers do by something that sounds fun to read, by a big hook, by comparing it to books that we love, and by being passionate about it. And I think if you do those things, someone's going to love it. Maybe me.
That's my goal.
Ditto. Perfect. Thank you so much, Sarah. This was so much fun having you
Yeah,
on.
thank you.
It was very fun. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Wayward Writers.
Let's connect. Find us at waywardwriters.com, X, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
See you next time. Conquer your path.